Peace, everybody. Welcome to Capital of Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch.
Roger L.
And today we are going to give you our full recap of the Anthony Joshua versus Wladimir Klitschko heavyweight title fight that went down this past Saturday in an epic fight that probably nobody was expecting to be as good as it was. If you've caught Rob's initial reaction video, check that out as well. He did a quick summary of what happened and just gave his initial thoughts after immediately watching it. Now we both had a chance to watch it. I watched the HBO and the Showtime broadcast, so I got like several different camera angles, two different commentating teams, which was really nice. I was happy that they were able to come to that deal, and then you can kind of see the differences between the two commentating teams, Bernstein, Paulie Malignaggi, Mauro Ranallo, and then you got Max Kellerman, Jim Lampley, and Roy Jones. That was very nice for American fans to have that contrast. So I'll get into that more later as we start talking post-fight. But Rob is going to go ahead and start us off, like recapping our preview and then going into the fight. Bam.
So we had two of the biggest, probably hardest hitters in the heavyweight division. We had the undefeated Anthony Joshua taking on the veteran, one of the best, well, the best heavyweight of this generation, and Wladimir Klitschko since
2000. When did Lennox Lewis retire? About 2003? Yeah,
somewhere around there. So since Lennox Lewis, and of course coming off that layoff since the Tyson Fury loss in
November
2015. So he had a pretty long layoff while Anthony Joshua stayed active throughout 2016, beating undefeated prospects, guys coming up, and then taking on Eric Molina as kind of that stay busy fight, waiting for this fight to materialize, which could have happened in 2016 but didn't.
Klitschko got hurt.
So we finally got it, and we got a great heavyweight scrap, probably the most significant since
Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson.
Since Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson, or I mean the last decent one I would say as far as two big names was Vitaly and Lennox Lewis as well.
Yeah, and that was 2003. So that's a good 13, 14 years since we've had like a heavyweight fight that the whole world wanted to see.
And we got it because there were like 90,000 people that packed Wembley Stadium in the UK.
Not to mention the millions of people watching around the world from all genres of sports. You had MMA stars tweeting about it. You had football players tweeting about it. Everybody was watching this fight.
And rightfully so, because we had the young Lion who's trying to take that next step up. He's already a champion. Some people call him a prospect with the belt. I think that's BS, especially now because he beat Wladimir Klitschko, who was an experienced veteran former champion on his way out, and he took full advantage, the best he could, to get the win and knock out Dr. Steelhammer himself.
Yeah. So we know the outcome of it. How do we get there? So we start in round one, where both guys come out and they immediately start hand fighting, jockeying for position with their left hands. Like Rob steps back, and you see both guys pawing with their jab, slapping each other, and this is something that Wladimir Klitschko was very good at. So you can see him doing this, slap, boom. He would just slap his hand out of the way, shoot the jab immediately. You've seen him do that on several people, and he started off with Joshua. So what Joshua did was start moving towards his right and shooting his jab down the middle and stepping back. And he was doing it to success. So Vlad starts to step back, and he shows something that we haven't seen since, like we said, 10 plus years. Excellent footwork. You see Vlad start to bounce on his toes, bounce back and forth, start to set angles as well. And you're like, hold on, wait a minute. Not used to seeing this.
Not from a heavyweight and not from Wladimir Klitschko at all. Not so long.
Right, since before the Corey Sanders fight. And if you've been following that long, you know that's a long time. But I say that because in our preview video, about 10 minutes into it, you can check it out. It's up at the top. You hit the little icon. I mentioned that I believe that Joshua had better footwork. Wrong. I was so wrong. And I realized this after watching their final workouts after doing the preview video. And I texted Rob and I was like, man, Joshua's legs look kind of stiff compared to Klitschko. I haven't seen him move like this in a while. He could set some angles and give Joshua some trouble. I'm going to try to screenshot that and show it. I'm not the most technically savvy guy. I just like to teach people fighting. So I'm going to try to do that for you guys to show you that I did that before the fight. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he starts to move. He starts to bounce around. And Joshua is probably like, you know, I wasn't really expecting this, but we gonna rock with it.
And being that Joshua came in at around 250 plus pounds,
yeah,
being heavily muscled, he doesn't move. He has good footwork. He just doesn't move a lot. He likes to set and throw those heavy punches. And granted, he was able to land with his jab, but that movement with Klitschko, he will push out his jab or his right hand at the time so he doesn't get full extension like he wants to. When you have a moving target, moving in and out, side to side, you tend to reset.
Yeah, which Joshua did a lot, but he did make up for it in aggressiveness. The first 3 rounds, you see Joshua outworking Klitschko. Even though he's not landing the cleanest, he's still outworking him and winning the rounds, which, you know, in a sporting contest is the point. Mm-hmm. Then around the 4th round, both guys start to heat up. You see Klitschko starting to get closer and closer with that right hand. And I believe it was at the beginning of the 4th round, he does something that you want to keep in mind. Like we said earlier, when they're doing the hand fighting, Klitschko comes out, slaps the left hand of Joshua down, and immediately follows with a right hand over the top. And Joshua had to like take pause. Later on in that round, they're exchanging and Joshua throws a winging right hand that looks to everybody that it landed. Both HBO and Showtime commentators like, man, that was a hard right hand. And even I thought, like, man, he just clocked him. But the replay shows he missed. But the judges don't have replay.
Exactly.
So they probably thought it landed too, unless they had the better vantage point of seeing it from the bottom of the ring and being on that side. But then having that and the crowd erupts, he probably wins that round too. I think the Showtime, Steve Farhood gave that round to Klitschko, whereas Harold Letterman gave it to Joshua. We know, you know, they both have different criteria when they come to scoring, which is why I said it was great to have that contrast. Then the shit hits the fan. Round 5. They come out. Joshua lands a nice right hand like immediately. And Klitschko's kind of, you know, like, okay. And he starts bouncing around, moving around. And Joshua has to stalk him. He's winging. Then he lands this monster left hook that has Klitschko reeling. And he's able to follow up with the volley to get Klitschko to fall down.
That's right.
Having our first knockdown of the fight. Now, most of us were probably thinking, this is the beginning of the end.
And even AJ thought the same thing.
Yes. So Joshua comes out, he tries for the finish, and then all of a sudden, you see something change. You see Joshua kind of look a little labored, starts to take his foot off the gas pedal, and all of a sudden, Wladimir Klitschko is landing hard shots.
Now, this is a testament to both Wladimir Klitschko and the referee, because one, the referee probably could have stopped it, especially knowing Wladimir Klitschko, knowing Anthony Joshua, knowing that Joshua trying to volley, throw those punches, get him out of there. Probably could have jumped in at any time, but he was very close. He let the action play out. You can see Klitschko kind of tying him up, avoiding those shots, landing here or there, continuing to fight back.
Yeah.
People always think that Wladimir Klitschko has a weak chin, he's tentative contact, which he is, and that he would capitulate as soon as shit hit the fan. That did not happen. Yes. He was able to smartly avoid the majority of the punches, tie up, continue to move, and then start landing back. With that 250 plus pound, extremely muscular Anthony Joshua, we know it takes a lot of blood to get to carry oxygen to those muscles. And at that time, you can see his feet get heavy, his arms get heavy, and him moving back against the ropes. And that's when Klitschko starts to land. He landed a good 1-2, and then Joshua's moving back. You can see him across the rope, backing up to the ropes. Klitschko lands a left hand, lands a hook, and then against the ropes, he lands an uppercut, which really took AJ out of that round. Because he was, again, another time where he probably could have took a knee, or they could have broke up the action, but the bell saved him at the end of the 5th round.
Yeah, and then that's another good contrast moment, because Klitschko had a very strong ending to that round, but Anthony Joshua still scored a knockdown in that round. Actually, and you see,
go ahead. Sorry.
The Steve Farhood scored that 10-9 Joshua, and Harold Letterman scored it 10-8 Joshua. That makes the scorecards really hairy if one of the official judges did the same thing, or you had a split where it's like in the 4th round, one of them scored it for Klitschko and the other one didn't. So you got a really nice dynamic playing out on the scorecards. Then we go into the 6th round, where, like I mentioned earlier in the 4th round, that hand play comes in again, that veteran move that Klitschko does. You also see Vasily Lomachenko use this move a lot as well, where they slap the hand down and then throw their punch. The difference between this one and the one that landed in the 4th round is a level change. Whereas it's going to look a little bit different because our heights aren't the same. Let me try one of these numbers here. Whereas in the 4th round, Klitschko is tall and he slaps it down, throws the right hand straight across. This time, he slaps it, drops down like this, and boom, Joshua goes down.
The difference between punching tall and sitting on a punch.
Yes, he also changed the angle, landed maybe an inch, maybe 2 inches lower than he did the first time, and you see the difference. The first time, he just got Anthony Joshua's attention. The second time, on top of Anthony Joshua already being tired, give him that. But he goes down, and he goes down hard. And then we're like, whoa, wait a minute, because, like I said, the contrasting of the broadcast, you hear Roy Jones saying, I don't think he's gonna make it. And you hear the Showtime guys like, hey, this is a big moment, let's see what's gonna happen here. Yeah, both of them had those questions, and those were questions that we asked as well in our preview video. If that were to happen, would he be able to survive after he got tired? We got our answer. Now, Klitschko won that round. He probably won all the way through to round 10. So that's about a good 4 rounds that Klitschko won on the cards because Joshua was tired. But at the same time, Anthony Joshua was still defensively responsible and cognizant of where he was despite being severely hurt.
And this is the other thing, again, a lot of people said Anthony Joshua has a suspect chin coming from the Dillian White fight.
Yeah.
Anyone can get knocked out by a Klitschko right hand, just like anyone can get knocked out by AJ right hand. These are heavyweights who are 240 plus pounds.
Yeah.
Anyone can get knocked out by that kind of power coming from these two guys.
And that doesn't mean you have a suspect chin getting hit by somebody who's known to knock people out
that cleanly.
Right. So he gets up, weathers the storm, survives 4 to 5 more rounds, and he did get hit with more right hands later on, and comes back to win the fight.
Now the good thing of what Anthony Joshua did is avoid the lead left hook.
Yes.
We talked about that, how Klitschko has a very good lead left hook, very tight, steps in, and intentions. AJ, each time he saw the left hook coming, because Klitschko wanted it bad, he threw it maybe 6 or 7 times trying to get him out of there. And AJ just knew, just keep slipping on. Every time he throws it, tries to step in, go down, slip under the left. And that actually got him out of the round because he was able to avoid that vicious hook. Because again, he wanted it, and he wanted it bad.
Yeah, it actually got him through the rest of the fight. It got him through the entire fight for 2 reasons. One, he didn't leave the opening there to be taken almost ever. That right hand stayed right here the entire fight. So that, like, a lot of guys like to bring it down here so that left hook is still there. Anthony Joshua's hands were up the entire time, so it was a hard window for Klitschko to get into in the first place. But once he got hurt, once he hurt Joshua, he took a lot more liberties of trying to land it. So what Joshua did is when Klitschko would come with that left hook, he'd throw it, he just ducked down under it just like that. They usually end up in a clinch, but he's not on the canvas. So you have to give him credit for that. Someone with a weak chin, we were talking about this before we started filming. A lot of people, like Rob said, like to get on these guys because of their weak chin. Wladimir Klitschko, up to this point, had fought 328 rounds of fighting.
Almost 70 fights.
He has been knocked out 3 times, stopped 3 times. He has never been knocked out to the point where he can't get up and misses a 10 count. He lost to Layman Brewster by like exhaustion. He was blitzkrieg by Corey Sanders, but he was still knocked down several times and was still getting up when they stopped the fight. When he was beaten by, who was the other guy that knocked him out? Ross Purity. That was another stamina issue, which led to that whole hesitant, measured style that he had for many years. And then on top of that, he was in there with a guy like Sam Peter, who was putting people out on stretchers, gets knocked down 3 times by him and still wins that fight. Has a rematch with him, knocks him out. Has a rematch with Layman Brewster, knocks him out. Survived being hurt in other fights. I think that whole chin thing was a little blown out too much because that left hook that Anthony Joshua landed in the 5th round, if you don't have a chin, you don't get up from that. Let's take a look at the stark differences in someone who can be hurt and someone who, like we say, has no chin. Like we have Klitschko and Joshua. They got knocked down, they got back up, they survived several rounds before Klitschko was stopped. Amir Khan, David Price, on the other hand. That happens to them, fight's over.
They're not getting up.
Right. And even Amir Khan has gotten up like against Danny Garcia and Bradis Prescott, but he was finished versus Bradis Prescott. And he was pretty done versus Danny Garcia, even though he got back up. And then you had the stone cold flattening by Canelo. And then he was hurt badly by Maidana. You know, that's what you see when a guy has no chin. These guys are able to be hit, they can be hurt, but they recover well. It took Anthony Joshua 5 more rounds after that to finally get back into the fight. And this is where we get to the end. He comes out, and once again, he immediately jumps on Klitschko at the beginning of the 11th round. He stuns him with a right hand, and you know, he's trying to go for the finish. And you see, if you watch videos of them, which I did, he was doing something most of the fight, but it paid dividends 11 rounds into this fight. He's been doing it all night. There was 2 things he was doing that you see him in his training videos doing over and over and over again. Thing number 1, following up his hook with an uppercut and vice versa. Whereas he throws a hook, he follows it with an uppercut. He throws an uppercut, he follows it with a hook. And him and Rob McCracken worked on this for several months.
You can even see it in the training video, the open workouts that they had planned on Thursday.
Right. So that's what happens in the 11th round. Joshua throws a hook. Klitschko ducks under it, but he catches him and follows up with a monster uppercut. And like I said, a guy with no chin is down and out after that punch. If you saw the ferocity, the accuracy, the placement, how it landed, when it landed, this is the 11th round, and the most he got was wobbly legs out of Klitschko.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta throw that whole chin thing out the window now.
Oh yeah.
But he's seriously hurt, and he's still trying to fight. That's another thing. Like, we talked about it in our preview videos, the strength of these men and how it will translate into the clinch. This started to play out again, and once again, the work that you see him putting in for months in advance, and we saw this during the open workouts, is a move that Anthony Joshua was working on the heavy bag. What he was doing, and he was doing this the entire fight, is he would just feign some punches upstairs, throw a hard right hand to the body, and then come with a hook upstairs. That ended up causing the knockdown, both of the knockdowns in the 11th round and the finish of the fight. So he had the mental capacity, the strength, the trust in his trainer to rely on a move that they had been working on for months. Late in the fight, when he's tired, catching his second wind, being hit by this mountain of a man, because we talk about how big and muscular Anthony Joshua is. Klitschko is no slouch either in the physique department. We talked about that a little bit in our preview video. But for him to start to land that combination that they had been working on for several months, and it had worked to a small capacity early on in the fight, but after taking a knockdown, having to stalk Joshua for 4 or 5 rounds, and expend his own energy, and then be hurt and knocked down again, it finally pays out in the end, and Joshua uses that right hand to the body, left hook upstairs combination to get the finish. That, as a coach, is really, like, that is top notch. That's what you want to see out of your fighter, out of any fighter. You want to see that the things that you teach your fighter show up in the ring and be successful, because you see something that works and you teach it to them. They become your extension, and it makes Anthony Joshua look good. It makes Rob McCracken look good. And now we have the new face of the heavyweight division. And it's someone that people of several countries can get behind. We have what we wanted. We have a star in Anthony Joshua. We have someone who can speak intelligently. We have someone who has those manners that people always talk about, who fights and really fights with his all. We have someone who has experienced adversity and fought through it and come out on top. We've had someone who fought from the bottom, taken out the top guy, and rising to the occasion. We have all of that in Anthony Joshua. And then we have a veteran in Klitschko who showed us his best performance in years. Probably the only thing that looked really good during that reign was the Kubrat Pulev fight, and maybe that's it. Maybe the second Tony Thompson fight or something like that. A lot of those fights, while technically sound and defensively sound as they were, and effective because he was winning, they didn't give you that wow factor like he gave you this past Saturday.
Yeah, he gave you a great performance despite a loss in the 11th round. We haven't seen Klitschko display some of those skills in quite a long time, and he's going up against a young guy who's very skilled, and he had to put his skills on display, and you could tell he was working extremely hard. Might have been some ring rust, might have been age, but
it didn't show.
It did not show. Now, where do both these fighters go from here?
I have the perfect scenario. Anthony Joshua needs to fight Tyson Fury. Now, I will throw it out there. I'm not a fan of Tyson Fury at all, but he has the claim to the heavyweight crown, and he did not lose it in the ring. So he deserves a shot at Anthony Joshua. Those two fight. Then we have Deontay Wilder take on Lucas Brown in a WBC unification. The winners of those two fights fight for all the marbles. And I'm assuming that would be Joshua and Wilder. Can you imagine if those two guys meet for all the marbles? That is the highest stakes you can have with two young stars. I mean, that will be another fight that the entire world will watch.
And I'm gonna give you a realistic scenario. While I would love for that to happen, there are plenty of names in the heavyweight division. We have Joseph Parker out of New Zealand. I believe he has a piece of the...
He has a WBO.
He has a WBO. You said Lucas Brown.
Oh, I'm sorry. Joseph Parker, I'm sorry. Yeah, Lucas Brown is the guy that got popped for. No.
Yeah, he got popped. You still have Luis Ortiz, who is under Eddie Hearn, who also manages Anthony Joshua. So promotes Anthony Joshua, which means that fight is very possible. The IBF also ordered Anthony Joshua to fight Kubrat Pulev, who just beat Kevin Johnson over the weekend. He's the mandatory for the IBF title.
You also have Shannon Briggs fighting Frez Okendo for a portion of the WBA title as well. So whoever wins that fight will be a WBA champion with Anthony Joshua. I don't know if it's super, regular, interim, whatever, but you know how the WBA rolls. But we'll have two WBA champs that will need to fight to have a WBA champ.
And those would be the most likely fights for Joshua. For Klitschko, he has a rematch clause. Whether he exercises it or not, that's up to him, because one, he said he would be about 2 fights before this fight, 2 fights from retirement. I know he wants to have his last fight in the Ukraine. He deserves that, regardless of what you think about Wladimir Klitschko. He deserves to have his last fight in the Ukraine. I could honestly see that fight happening against Tyson Fury just for revenge purposes and to even obtain the lineal heavyweight title. Now, granted, that's none of the belts, but that's the man who beat the man who beat the man.
Right.
And Tyson Fury kind of does owe him a rematch, because we know that whole mental issue. I don't understand, but Tyson Fury is training again. And then whoever wins that fight with they'll probably go into retirement unless he takes on Tyson Fury, beats him, and then say, hey, I might got one more in me. We want to see AJ versus Deontay Wilder. We know Wilder has a lot of fights that could be lined up. I know Huey Fury is out there. Parker's out there.
I think from what I saw in the gossip lines, him and Tony Bellew got into it.
And Tony Bellew called out Wilder, because Wilder was actually at the Anthony Joshua Wladimir Klitschko fight.
I didn't click on the video, but I saw one of the thumbnails that said that they got into an argument, they called each other out or something like that. So that's a possible fight. Honestly, I don't want to see that fight.
No one really wants to see that fight. Tony Bellew is a good fighter.
Yeah.
But he honestly belongs in the cruiserweight division.
Yeah, and what I want to see is what I told you guys. 2 guys meeting for the whole pie.
Oh, and there's also this thing with Bermane Slaverne.
Oh yeah, he's the mandatory for the WBC for Deontay Wilder. Yeah, so there are plenty of things that can happen. I told you what I want to happen, but even if that doesn't, if any of those scenarios happen, I'm gonna watch anyway. I mean, let's keep it real. So that's it, guys. You got anything you want to close with?
Check out the preview. See if our commentary here matches up with our preview of the Anthony Joshua Wladimir Klitschko. If you haven't seen it already, check out my initial reaction. Sorry for those, I was driving. For those who have an issue with that, I understand, but traffic sucked on I-95.
When does it not?
And also, coming up, check out our preview of the HBO pay-per-view between Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. as they fight at the 164.5 pound limit.
Yeah, that's super middleweight fight, but we'll go into that in the preview video. Make sure you like this one. If you made it this far, you've seen a good video, you know you got some quality, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Catch all of those videos and hit us up on our social networks. Links are down below, and we'll see you guys in those mentioned videos. Until then, fight on.
This is round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane. I told them I don't play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.